Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Caitanya-caritamrta, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Swami Prabhupada, Adi Lila, chapter 1, text 44. Jodopi Amar Guru Chaitanya Das Tothapi Janiye Ami Taha Prakash Jodopi Amar Guru Chaitanya Das Tathapi Janaye Ami Tahara Prakash Jodopi Amar Guru Chaitanya Das Tathapi Janaye Ami Tahara Prakash. Although I know that my spiritual master is a servitor of Sri Chaitanya, I know him also as a plenary manifestation of the Lord. Purport. Every living entity is essentially a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the spiritual master is also his servant. Still, the spiritual master is a direct manifestation of the Lord. With this conviction, a disciple can advance in Krishna consciousness. The spiritual master is non-different from Krishna because he is a manifestation of Krishna. Lord Nityananda, who is Balaram himself, the first direct manifestation or expansion of Krishna, is the original spiritual master. He helps Lord Krishna in his pastimes, and he is a servant of the Lord. Every living entity is eternally a servant of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Therefore the spiritual master cannot be other than a servant of Lord Chaitanya. The spiritual master's eternal occupation is to expand the service of the Lord by training disciples in a service attitude. A spiritual master never poses as the Supreme Lord himself. He is considered a representative of the Lord. The revealed scriptures prohibit one's pretending to be God, but a bona fide spiritual master is a most faithful and confidential servant of the Lord, and therefore deserves as much respect as Krishna. Okay, I'll go on and read a few more verses. Text 45. Guru Krishna Rupan Shastra Pramane Guru Rupe Krishna Kripa Karen Bhakta Gane. According to the deliberate opinion of all revealed scriptures, the spiritual master is non-different from Krishna. Lord Krishna, in the form of the spiritual master, delivers his devotees. Acharyam mang vijani yan avamanyeta karhichit namartya buddhya suyeta sarvadeva mayo guruhu. One should know the Acharya as myself. This is quotation from Krishna. One should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him an ordinary man, for he is the representative of all the demigods. Shiksha Guru ke to jani Krishna Sharup antajami bhakta shreshta e dui rup. One should know the instructing spiritual master, Shiksha Guru, to be the personality of Krishna. Lord Krishna manifests himself as the super soul and as the greatest devotee of the Lord. Naivo payantya pachiting kavayastavesha brahmayushapi kritam riddha muda smarantaha yontar bahistanu britang ashubhang vidhunvan acharya chaitya vapusha swagating vyanakti. This is a prayer of Uddhava to Krishna, speaking to Krishna. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science, could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma, for you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya and internally as the Supersoul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. I chose to speak on these verses this morning because a godbrother of mine wrote to me within the last week with a question. And it's really a question, it's maybe meant as a rhetorical question. Where does this idea come from that the Shiksha Guru is more important than the Diksha Guru? So I wanted to address that question. Coincidentally, it happens to be the so-called birthday of this body, and I'm taking the role of a guru, but that's coincidental. One thing I'm experiencing that Srila Prabhupada often says, it's very easy to be a guru. You just tell other people, tell people about Krishna. Jari dekha tare kaha Krishna upadesh amara gai guru hoya tara edesh. You tell, wherever you go, whoever you meet, instruct them in the science of Krishna. In this way, become a guru and deliver this land. But it's relatively easy to speak the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. That also requires great mercy to be able to do so and get it right and get it as it is. But in the matter of guiding devotees, especially myself being a product of Kali Yuga and others being products of Kali Yuga, and we find even with devotees who are very sincere to make advancement, and not everyone's in that category, but even there's so much conditioning and we're not even aware of, and although we expect devotees to catch the ideal and live according to it, well, Bhagavad Gita, Daivihi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Duratyaya. It's very difficult to conquer over Maya. Mameva ye prapadyante. If you just surrender to me, Krishna says, Maya me tam tarantite. You can cross over. So that's the easy part is chanting Hare Krishna, and the difficult part is, well, Prabhupada would say, what is the difficulty? What is the difficulty? We are the difficulty. There's a saying in English, we have seen the enemy, and the enemy is us. We are our own worst enemies. We are, what is that? Apaswartha parayana. We're strongly attached to that which is not our real self-interest, which we take to be our self-interest, but which isn't. Anyway, the question of Shiksha Guru, we never heard this we never heard it from Prabhupada, because when Srila Prabhupada was here, then Prabhupada was the guru for everyone. And Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru, we didn't really think much about these terms because we'd heard them, of course. Who did we hear them from? From Srila Prabhupada. But he was the guru. He was standing just so much above all of us. That's why when it came to the point that some of Prabhupada's disciples had to accept disciples after Prabhupada, and we said, well, how can we be like? At first it seemed impossible because Prabhupada's so high and we're so small and so on. Anyway, you have to do it. And if you do it, you must be as high as Prabhupada. That was another mistake, which the application of it resulted in some disaster. Now we have all over the world a situation where there are relatively few gurus, and most of them have many disciples. But it seems from Srila Prabhupada wanted all of his disciples to initiate, and then we'd have many gurus, each with a few disciples, and that would maybe be better for the disciples and probably better for the gurus also. But somehow it's come to this idea that guru, many disciples, and the result of that is that the idea of the guru personally instructing the disciple, it doesn't happen much. This verse we just read just read two verses from Bhagavatam. Acharyang mang vijaniyang navamanyeta karhichit namartya buddhya suyeta sarvadeva mayo guruhu. Krishna spoke this verse saying you should know the Acharya, the Guru, is me. He shouldn't be considered an ordinary person. And we often see the etiquette is there, mostly the gurus are said to give respect to the Guru, not to treat him like an ordinary person. But Krishna, the context in which he spoke this verse, he was instructing actually about the duties of brahmacharis. And the brahmacharis, they live with the Guru. And they may see him to be an ordinary person in many ways. Because you see him day after day. Sometimes he's sick, sometimes he's healthy, sometimes he's tired, sometimes not. Sometimes might be in a bit of a bad mood, sometimes in a better mood. It's also said there that the wife of the Guru, if she's very young, shouldn't massage the brahmachari, so generally it's understood he's a householder. He's not a big Jagat Guru, world conqueror. He's there in the forest, the forest Guru. Living in the forest means just inside the forest, not deep in the forest, because the boys had to come out to the village and beg. And they'd beg, it means all the boys would be there, and mostly there'd be the village would be all their parents, would be a Brahmin village, and so the Guru was known to all the parents, and it was a very local thing. That's the general model we see there. The practice and concept of guruship is very broad. There's it's in many ways defined by each individual guru in his relationship with his disciples. Everyone does it differently. Although there is a standard pattern. The standard pattern is Shabde Parecha Nishnatam Brahmanyupashamashrayam. The guru should be immersed in the Vedic knowledge. That means he should have received it in parampara, and he should have fully taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it's also defined by different paramparas, how the guruship is conducted, and by tradition. Yunanda Kumar did some research at one point a few years ago on some Mayavadi paramparas. One of them was Chinmayananda was a famous Mayavadi guru. Who was his guru? Shivananda, Swami Shivananda. So they're both very famous figures in the recent history of modern Hinduism, and the way they conducted their mission is quite different, and their whole approach and everything. And then from Chinmayananda came Yogi Mahesh, was one of them, was it?
Yogi Mahesh was from the other Guru.
Coming also from Swami Shivananda.
But Swami Chinmayananda had Epatsarthi and a few others who the Vedanta Foundation.
Then but they're all quite different in many ways. But it's the same basic message of be a good Hindu and Mayavad and all this. Not even Mayavad in the pristine sense, as we get in the Shankara Mat. Anyway, that's a big topic. I'm getting a bit off the topic here. We should be talking about Shiksha Gurus and Deeksha Gurus. Yeah, this question came because a devotee in Europe who is very senior there, not a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, but he is telling others that you have to respect the Shiksha Guru, or the Shiksha Guru is more important than the Diksha Guru. So my godbrother is saying, where did this idea come from? We didn't hear it from Srila Prabhupada. As far as I know, this idea was introduced into our movement shortly after Srila Prabhupada's departure. It entered our movement via Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, who was a godbrother of Srila Prabhupada, who Srila Prabhupada had a close relationship with, a lot of respect, and whose expositions on Shastra were something quite extraordinary. So this came up in relation to the point that if we see our parampara, we have this parampara coming from Krishna to Brahma, to Narad, to Vyasadeva, to Madhva, and then Madhva's followers, and then it gradually comes down to Madhavendra Puri, Ishvara Puri, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then Rup, or 6 Goswamis, we can say. And then, if we see the list of names is given, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Narottam Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti, and Baladev Vidyabhushan. And it's not all by Deeksha. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not known to have initiated anyone, although some people say he did. It's not known who all of the 6 Goswamis were initiated by. There's some talk that Rupa and Sanatana were initiated by Gadadhar, but it's not sure. Krishnadas Kaviraj, we don't know who his Diksha Guru was. Narottam, we know, but it's not, the line, if we see the list of names, is Krishnadas Kaviraj, then Narottam. But Narottam was not initiated by Krishnadas Kaviraj. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is the next given, and he's not initiated by Narottam. Baladev is the next in line, and he's not in, and it goes on all the way down. Then Jagannath, even some say that Gorky Shah Das Babaji was initiated, Babaji initiation by Jagannath Das Babaji, but that's also, that doesn't count in terms of the mantra. That's Vaishashray, that means being initiated as a Babaji. But the Deeksha, the Vaishnavi Deeksha, that is in the parampara, that would be the one that's either a Vedic parampara or according to Pancharatra or Shaivagama. It's the mantra that's given at the time. That who you take sannyas from, that's not considered to be. Generally, that's not considered to be the main factor. The original spiritual initiation. So then Sridhar Maharaj explained that these names, actually this name up to Baladev, this was given by Baladev Vidyabhushan himself as the parampara for the Gauriya Sampradaya. And and after that also, it's not a continuous list of initiated disciples. So Sridhar Maharaj explained, it's a standard explanation, that the main names are given in the parampara. There may be so many branches, but the main names are given. And it's understood that although each had their own guru, Diksha Guru, that their main inspiration or source of guidance may have been someone. Well, there may be the guru there, but the towering figure before them, just Vishwanath before him, is Narottam. So, no doubt Vishwanath had full respect for the Diksha Guru, but although in one sense there's no higher or lower among devotees, but still Narottam was a very special acharya in our line, and therefore his name is mentioned. And there are some in between. There is a Deeksha line, but then between Narottam and Vishwanath, but that's not mentioned. So Shiksha is more important, because what Guru means teacher. Divyam Jnanam Yato Dadyat Purva Papasya Sangshayam Iti Diksheta Tat Proktam Deshikais Tatvako Vidai. Diksha is defined as that process by which transcendental knowledge is imparted. Particularly, that means according to transcendental knowledge, explanation of the mantra which is given. Diksha Guru usually means mantra Guru. Is a mantra is given, a secret mantra generally. So, and by which the process by which spiritual knowledge is given, and all previous sins, the reactions of sinful activities are completely destroyed. That, learned people say, is called Deeksha, or initiation. So the essence of that is the imparting of, well, generally it's considered the essence of Deeksha. In any Vedic sampradaya, it's considered the essence of Deeksha is the imparting of a mantra. But here it says that the giving of the knowledge, because if one simply gives a mantra without knowledge, then it won't have effect. These are all shastric statements. So giving knowledge, giving teaching, that is, and of course apart from direct teaching of the mantra, there's teaching about the whole understanding of Krishna consciousness, in Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan, the basic understanding of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Who are we? What is our relationship with Krishna? What is our relationship with everyone else? We are eternal spirit souls. We're not one with everything. This is the Vaishnava teaching, proper teaching. And then how to act in devotional service, so that we can become purified and attached to Krishna, and what is the ultimate goal to be attained by all of this. So this is, all of these points are to be taught by the Guru. Now, often we find that who is the Diksha Guru is not the main teacher. That's not only within our ISKCON, but that's quite a common phenomenon, because how many disciples can one person teach? We find that Durvasa Muni used to travel with 60,000 disciples. Can you imagine that? He just turns up for lunch at the Pandavas. They're in the forest. Oh, I just dropped in for lunch. Oh, okay. I got 60,000 disciples with me also. So, yeah, things were different in those days. We can't imagine all these things in Kali Yuga. But the ability of, although it's said here, Acharyang Mang Vijaniyan, Krishna says, one should know very well that the Acharya is myself, but that's to be understood contextually. He is non-different, but different also. One way is different is that a jiva cannot interrelate with so many people directly. Tam sarva bhuta hridayam munimanatosmi. Sutta Goswami prays to Shukadev Goswami that he can enter the hearts of all. So we find that Srila Prabhupada could enter the hearts of all, that devotees gave their heart to him, and he gives guidance and inspiration. But in terms of personal training, there's only a limited number. That's just the way things are. Krishna can expand himself into so many forms. And a perfect yogi can expand himself also, but generally doesn't, especially in this Kali Yuga. The Vaishnava Acharyas, they don't show mystic powers. They don't exhibit that. So some system is there of organization by which Srila Prabhupada personally trained some disciples, and then they were expected to train others. He also wrote books. That's one of the functions of the acharyas and gurus, is to write books which present the knowledge of Krishna consciousness according to the particular time, place and circumstance. We may say, well, Krishna consciousness is the same everywhere. That's true, but Maya takes different forms in different times, places and circumstances. For instance, we find Krishna in Bhagavad Gita speaking about Sankhya philosophy, but it's not an issue nowadays. It's not something to be addressed. Nowadays, in preaching, Srila Prabhupada addressed modern science. It wasn't an issue at the time when modern scientific misconceptions, it wasn't an issue when Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. So it's the same philosophy, but it has to be spoken in different times, places and circumstances. And we find also that people in Kali Yuga, they're less intelligent, so it has to be made suitable for them. For people in India to present Krishna consciousness, the presentation in general may be different to people outside India, and so on and so on and so on. So various books may have to be written. Just like, for instance, we find within the Shastra and within the commentaries, it's largely taken for granted that there is rebirth again and again and again. Krishna explains this at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, but generally in the Shastras it is explained, but then so many stories are given. It's there within the culture. There's this whole collection, huge collection of stories in Sanskrit, Caitanya-caritamrta, Sagar Sa, something like that. Maybe there's more than one collection, and it's mostly all kinds of stories about how someone does something and they're very sinful and they get another birth, and it's just accepted within the culture. Whereas in the Western countries, and increasingly so in India nowadays, that may be have to explain. There's one book written just on that subject for distribution by our book distributors. The book is called Coming Back, and it just concentrates on this subject, establishing the point of reincarnation, without which one cannot even begin to understand anything else about the philosophy of Krishna consciousness and Bhagavad Gita. So the gurus in this way, they personally instruct disciples. Those who have many disciples may make some organization to so that what they teach can be disseminated at a personal level. And they write books. We find all the great acharyas, they would travel from place to place, establish mutts, or monasteries, I guess you would say in English, something like that. And from time to time they would stop and just write. And in this way, Shankaracharya, who's accepted as an acharya by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although his philosophy is not what we teach, but he is in the mold of a traditional acharya. And then Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, they all followed this pattern. They would travel, preach, they would meet with opposing parties, and they'd have debates and defeat them. They became great acharyas by defeating others. So even Madhvacharya, he may have had thousands of disciples, but if he was once defeated, then he'd be finished. Of course, there's no question of defeating him, but theoretically, he would be a historical non-entity if he'd been once defeated. So they went throughout their lives being undefeated, these acharyas. And they, time to time, they would stop, sit in one place, and write. Srila Prabhupada hardly stopped. He would go on 24 hours, and he would traveling and writing, unprecedented. So, Guru is most important in Vedic culture as an intermediary between the disciple and the Supreme Lord. And that's in all disciplines also, learning how to play music, learning how to do martial arts, even for these secular, what we would now call secular affairs. It's all considered linked with God, because all the knowledge comes from God. That's why learning to dance, or before some dance or musical performance, those who are going to do the performance, they first of all, they offer respect to Guru and to Saraswati, even if they're Muslims. Many of the famous classical musicians in India are Muslims, but they can't learn unless they come in the tradition. So they also have to do it. You can't learn it, you can't get it without the mercy of the Guru, who is the manifestation of the Supreme Lord, or Saraswati, who gives knowledge. She gives knowledge, and she gives the arts also, music, dance, all these things. So whatever it is, even if it's not directly spiritual knowledge, it's understood that all knowledge comes from God through the intermediary of the Guru. Most important in Vedic tradition, whether it's Upasampradaya or whether it's secular knowledge. It's not that just the teacher is just some ordinary person who's just doing some job because they're paid to do it. But they represent God, and especially those who speak knowledge of the Absolute. They are particularly to be understood as representatives of the Supreme Lord. So that culture is very strong. In India, it's rejected largely. In the Western countries, especially the Protestant countries, there's some idea of, within the Catholic and Orthodox Christian traditions, there's some idea of, well, not some idea, it's very strong that, or it used to be, that one has to respect the priest, the bishop, ultimately the Pope. They're the spiritual authorities. Protestantism protested against this. That's why it's called Protestantism. It was we go to God directly with no intermediary. Islam is very much like this, although they you can't say it to them, but they practically worship Muhammad. But the idea is that there's yourself and God, but even there they have their imams and whatnot. They give respect to someone who's more learned or a spiritual leader. It's the natural system, which is institutionalized in Vedic culture, and which is followed some way or another, even within those cultures which profess to reject any form of guru or spiritual guide or spiritual leader. And then those who reject any form of spiritualism, then they become agnostics or atheists. But even then, they respect the chief atheists. I'm sure all the atheists, among the atheists community in the modern world, people like Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris and Christopher Hitchens, rest in peace, they're all respected as being leaders of the, what's that guy, Dennett, and there are so many of them. So they're respected. It's a tendency of the human being to respect others. One who doesn't respect anyone in any way is just totally in the mode of ignorance. In the mode of passion, there's a beginning of awakening of human consciousness. So the tendency to respect others is there. Even you'll find among something as mundane and totally meaningless as playing cricket, someone is very respected if they're a good cricket player. Sachin Tendulkar, Kapila Dev, Ganguly, what's his name? Saurav Ganguly. They're respected for their ability to play cricket, which has got absolutely no meaning except in the minds of people who ascribe meaning to it, which is many people, but still it's ultimately meaningless. But they respect, instead of respecting the sadhus, well, they may respect the sadhus also, but they put more emphasis there. Oh, very great person. Sachin. Oh, very great. So that tendency is there, and that tendency is properly given to Krishna and to his representatives in this world. So the Shiksha Guru is to be respected because he gives knowledge of Krishna, and formally or informally there are so many Shiksha Gurus. I myself am one of, I don't know how many, probably about 80 to 100 within ISKCON today who give initiation. And like most of the gurus, I have more disciples than I can personally oversee and train in all respects. So most of them get trained by certain of my disciples. That happened with me also. When I joined, there was no actual official training at that time. That came a little later, the Bhakti program. But the training more or less took place, which whenever I did anything wrong, someone would tell me, which was all the time because I didn't know anything. And none of that. And then I learned. But they took the trouble at least to help me like that. And then some devotees in particular, they spent some time with me and explained things like this. So I didn't get direct training from Srila Prabhupada, although at the time we didn't have any concept of Srila Prabhupada's disciples being Shiksha Gurus. Well, it may have been actually, come to think of it. Not myself, but in New Vrindavan, devotees very much looked up to Caitanya-caritamrta Swami and respected him on a very high level. When I joined in England, our local GBC member was Hansadutta, and quite a few devotees, mostly brahmacharis, they were very much attached to him, very charismatic figure. So there may have been, but we didn't think in terms of Shiksha Guru as such. We didn't think Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru. We didn't think any such thing. We just thought Prabhupada's our Guru, and that was it. So this idea of Shiksha Gurus has come up. It seems to be quite strong at the present time, especially among those gurus who are hardly seen by their disciples. And even if they are seen, it's from a distance. That hundreds of heads in front of you, guru up on a big stage, and that's all you get. And you might, in your lifetime, get him to pat you on the head or something like that. So such disciples are guided by others, and if they are to get proper guidance, then it's important for them also to respect those who are guiding them. Otherwise, if they think, well, it's just some guy, what does it matter? He can tell me whatever he likes, but I don't have to follow it. But if we think that this is a sacred transaction, that this person has been trained so many years, Krishna consciousness, now he's training me, so I should accept that. Then the person who is getting the guidance can take it much more seriously and be benefited. It can be problematic also, just as any guru-disciple relationship can be problematic. If the guru is not properly situated, or the disciple is not properly situated, they're not properly discharging their functions, then it may be problematic. Actually, everything in this world is problematic, especially when you try. It may not seem to be so problematic as when we try to become free from all the complex and deep and subtle problems that are in our mind. When we try to sort them all out, then it may seem to be more. So many problems come out, and we get to see all the impurities in our hearts. So that may be problematic, especially that if those who take the role of Shiksha Guru, they do so with not such good intentions, which they may themselves not even see properly. Or they're not qualified to guide. Just like I heard over in Kerala, there are a few devotees they've never had any proper training themselves, but now they declare themselves to be Shiksha Gurus, and they make very strongly the point, yes, Diksha Guru, to be respected in all, yes, highest respect, but Shiksha Guru is more important, meaning themselves, and they give all kinds of strange advice, just like, for instance, so I heard, one devotee was in a student hostel where the only food there is served is with meat. So he said, well, that's okay then, what can you do? Eat meat, time, place and circumstance. So this doesn't seem to be very... Shiksha Guru will, by his mercy, you won't get any result, no sinful reaction. So taking the position of God, but not being very qualified to do so. You may say, well, who's qualified? It's a very high qualification is required. actually, to train and guide others. But then someone has to do it. At one point, Srila Prabhupada, about 1972, I think, he wrote a letter in which he said that now we have so many devotees, it's time we should stop expanding so much and boil the milk. In other words, instead of adding more and more, just like if you put more and more water in the milk, it becomes less and less nourishing, and eventually it becomes like water and less like milk. But if you boil it down, it becomes very thick and substantial, solid. So Srila Prabhupada said, now we should boil the milk. He didn't stop expanding, but he did say we should boil the milk. In other words, we need to train those who are coming. Practically we can see in our movement over the last generation that there's a lot of emphasis on bringing more and more people in, but in many cases not so much emphasis in training them. And then those who've been around for some time, they know how to do the basic things, and they start to teach others, but they never got taught themselves. And apart from teaching philosophy, how to apply it, there's also the matter of cleaning the misconceptions and the egoism. And if someone becomes a Shiksha Guru but has so much egoism which they may not notice, then or personal motivations, they may want to be I can be a leader, I can show, I'll show what I can do, or whatever. Then it becomes problematic in the sense that they may bring people to Krishna consciousness, but by spiritual genetics, the ill motivation in the heart of the so-called Shiksha Guru, that becomes communicated to the next generation. And so everyone thinks that, well, we're in this movement to chant Hare Krishna and show ourselves. And then the next one also wants to be a big leader, and I'll show them. Then we get all this. This is my territory, you can't come here. These are my followers, you don't touch them, and so on and so on and so on. And it becomes quite mundane. So gurus are needed. We need many, many gurus, but it's not a cheap thing. One has to, in one way very easy, you just speak the message of Krishna. But to be what Srila Prabhupada called a transparent via medium, that is required. That the message of Krishna doesn't come through the filter of our own material motivations. That is the problem. Our own lacking may be there, in that we may not be fully realized. We may have the material attachments, this, that, but if the motive is pure, anyabhilashita shunyam, without any motive to exploit others, it's very dangerous. If we think, I'll take Shiksha Guru and then they'll serve me this way, that way, that way. One devotee many years ago, he said, I think I need 2 disciples, one to massage me and one to cook my meals. We're just thinking, what can I get from the disciple? And that's not proper. One should be thinking how to benefit them. I am personally incapable of benefiting, but I have full faith of what my guru gave, then that can benefit others. So let me try to represent my guru and the whole parampara, and in this way become a transparent via medium, rather than taking disciples for the sake of some personal benefit, even if it's just subtle. Now, on the other hand, you may say, well, half-baked gurus, what's the use? We need the real, highest, purest. And there have been, since Prabhupada departed from our physical vision, different gurus who have directly or indirectly made it known that they are on the topmost Paramahamsa level and that you should come to them, and then only if you go to them can you make proper advancement, and all these other gurus are useless, they can't help you. But then we see practically that those devotees who got taken in by this Maha Bhagavat Paramahamsa Prem Bhav type of guru, they're not visibly doing any better than anyone else in their Krishna consciousness. It's not that just by going to them all of a sudden they became in Gopi Bhav or whatever. It didn't happen. Because a lot of it, one reason is that a lot of it, the advancement depends on the disciple themselves. You can have the best teacher, but if you yourself are not sincere to learn, you're not going to learn. You could have Einstein as a physics professor, but you won't learn anything unless you're serious to learn. So the same way in spiritual life, you have to be very serious. And practically we see devotees who dedicate themselves to Srila Prabhupada's mission, they get his mercy and very practical standards for spiritual advancement Srila Prabhupada gave to us. The work now, samadhi, later formula, that we have to work very hard to spread Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, ourselves follow the proper sadhana, endeavor to be pure devotees. So devotees who stick to this formula, at least in my estimation, you may say I'm biased, they seem to do very well. So Shiksha Guru, more important than Diksha Guru. Well, it's not that the disciple would say that, well, actually I'm initiated by so-and-so, but I find that actually the Shiksha Guru is more important. It may be, but it's not that one undermines the Deeksha. One is grateful for that. But it may be that one finds Shiksha more enlightening, maybe more suited to one's own temperament also. That's also a factor. Often devotees are initiated generally they're initiated in a very neophyte stage, and later when they have better opportunity to understand everything through Shastra, see everything, then they may feel that I need to place myself here under this guidance, rather than that which is coming from my Deeksha Guru. That may be there. So it's not that the Shiksha Gurus or they should go around advertising, I'm more important than your Deeksha Guru. But practically they may be the ones who are guiding, and actually that's generally true with the gurus who are initiating so many disciples. They don't, in many cases, they don't personally bring people to Krishna consciousness or train them. They just give, I say just, but it's not a small thing to give the mantra. It's not a small thing because that formally links one to the parampara and makes a connection with Krishna, formal connection, and also the Deeksha Guru is supposed to take the sinful reactions of the disciple. So it's not a small thing. But yeah, Shiksha Gurus are needed, but it's a bit of a difficult situation because devotees, they need to train people who are coming, and for that they require that there be some respect, proper respect. On the other hand, those who are local teachers, they don't have all the fanfare that comes with the role of Guru in ISKCON today, which is quite high actually. This fanfare, you know what that means? That means a lot of praise, dhum-dham in Hindi you'd say. All this, a big spectacle. That's generally not been there in our Vaishnava Sampradaya. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is maybe the first to introduce this. It's there in some Mayavadi Sampradayas. They have a big felicitation ceremonies on the birthdays of the gurus. There's a whole culture to be established, and people can understand this point. In India, the culture is there to accept a guru to the extent that people can be easily exploited and misled. But in other countries, it's so much lacking that those who are guiding, they may feel constrained to say, yes, you should respect me. In a not very roundabout way, they may say, look, I'm your Shiksha Guru, you should respect properly. Because in their culture, they don't have the idea to respect anyone, except maybe a football player. They don't respect the teachers, nor do the teachers act in a way that they command any respect. It's cat and dog civilization, as Prabhupada said. So there are misunderstandings there. Should the Shiksha Guru be respected, or is more important than the Diksha Guru? Maybe, not in every case. It may be. So there are some thoughts on that in reply to the question of the Shiksha Guru being more important than the Diksha Guru. Any questions about this, please? Yeah.
When a similar question like this was put to a female devotee in Chennai, he said that the best solution is to he said that because I am your Shiksha Guru, you take Deeksha from my Shiksha Guru, and then all the problems are solved.
So what's the question?
Is it recommended?
Is it recommended? How did this come to be spoken? What are the problems that are being perceived, that are being solved?
The Shiksha Guru teaches something and your Diksha Guru says something else.
No, but he said all problems will be solved. Which problems? How did the question arise?
It's something like parallel lines of authority.
Parallel lines of authority.
Where your temple president or your...
Oh, I see. The temple president on one side and the Diksha Guru on the other side, and there's parallel lines of authority. I see. So someone said that, well, I'm your Shiksha Guru, so if you take initiation from my Guru, then all problems will be solved. It might be. And more it's coming up that it's presented that the temple presidents are Shiksha Gurus. But it's not that by having a position, you become a Shiksha Guru. It's the disciple himself has to have that feeling, not that now I'm the temple president, so I'm your Shiksha Guru. You can't appoint yourself, or no one can appoint you. Yeah, mostly it's going on like that, but I would recommend that devotees be more thoughtful. Look before you leap. Choose carefully. Administratively, it will go easier if everyone's initiated by the same guru. Administratively, it may go more easily. And generally, as Prabhupada notes in one of the purports in this section, generally the one who's the original Shiksha Guru becomes the Diksha Guru. Generally, it's like that. Anyway, there's a lot of neophyte understanding about all these things. And then to promote that our Diksha Guru is the real one, the best, then you have to make up all these stories about him and all this kind of so many things. And just the fact that someone's teaching about Krishna consciousness, that in itself is glorious. It is not necessary that well, he opened more temples than anyone else and had so much intimate association with Prabhupada and had so many dreams of the Panchatattva. Shabde parecha nishnatam ramanyupashamashwayam. These are the symptoms, should be seen. One is deeply absorbed in Shastra and has taken full shelter of Krishna. How can you know what's in someone's mind? You can't tell. So ultimately you have to pray to Krishna. Brahmanda brahmite kono bhagyavan jeev guru Krishna prasade pai bhakti lata bij. One who is fortunate by the grace of Guru and Krishna, they will get the seed of devotional service. So it requires some good fortune, which requires some sincerity also. And once you get the bhakti lata bij, then what's next? Then you have to water it. You have to do your own work. What is that? Shei bij loya karioropan shravan kirtan jale kariyeshechan. You have, once you get the seed, you have to plant it again in the earth and then water it with the water of hearing and chanting. And again, that goes on under the guidance of the Guru. So, anything else? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Caitanya-caritamrta ki jai.